Welcome to our 95th episode.
I think so, 95.
95th episode of One Cardinal, One Cup, One Beer, Upper Jackson podcast. Your friend who made this shirt, I've worn the heck out of it. So, I will pay her if she will make me another shirt.
All right, I'll talk to her.
So I'm
Kim Grimes, very nice lady.
okay. All right. Um, anyway, let's get the housekeeping out of the way. First of all, you'll notice that JJ, he's had to file bankruptcy, and they came into his house and they took everything. That's why he's just got a bare wall there. Or he lives in Milwaukee in a hotel room right now. I don't
I'm,
know. It all gets clouded in there.
yes, I'm under the
So
radar.
you should have Brody just stand behind you so you have some decor on the room. Brody, show yourself. You haven't been on for a while.
Yeah, come over here and stick your head in here. He's over there.
How you doing, Vince?
I'm
There
good.
he is.
How you doing?
All right.
There you
Our
go.
minor league man right there.
All right.
He's excited. We are going to be in Wrigley Field Saturday. First time for him. I'm excited. Father and son thing to do. Cubs, Blue Jays. We're going to take the train down, and man, it's just exciting. We're going to set up top so he can see the Great Lake and just the rooftops and everything up there. So we'll be like in maybe the fifth row on the upper deck.
Cool. And it should be an exciting series because I'll get into this. We have played our way back into
You're there. I always thought you guys were there. I knew
into
you were a good
consciousness.
team.
So let me get this out of the way. Like us on Facebook. You can contact us through one card, one cup, one beer at gmail.com. For those of you who are watching on the YouTube channel, please click the subscribe button so you can have all of our information as soon as we drop it. You can support us through Patreon. Go to patreon.com, type in one cardinal, one cup, and one beer. You can support our efforts, which are greatly appreciated. And if you want to be a contestant on one of our trivia contests, a guest on a panel, if you have an interesting baseball story, if you have an expertise, if you know what a baseball is, but you think you're interesting, let us know. We'd like to have you be on the show because we do like the people who do watch the show to be our guests on the show. And if you'll notice, I did throw in the trivia contest because Max will start to be able to join us a little bit because the schedule is loosening up a bit. So that's very exciting. JJ, how are you doing in Milwaukee?
Doing great. We took in a game Sunday. It was the Reds and the Brewers. Reds won 4-3. Brewers are scuffling a little bit, but they're still got a nice lead on the rest of us. We took a tour of the ballpark on Monday. Fantastic. We couldn't go. We usually can go down to the visitor locker room, but the Dodgers were just coming to town. They wouldn't let us go down there, but we went to the club where the Brewer clubhouse is, and Devin Williams, while people were in front taking pictures, he was standing there waiting to go in. Very nice to everybody. We all said hi. We went into where they have the meetings where the coaches talk after the game. They are not very big on Craig Counsell. Let me tell you, not very big on Craig Counsell. They love Bud
After
Selig.
last night, neither am I.
But they love their coach now. They love Bob Uecker and they love Bud Selig. I mean, the Bud Selig experience, which is sort of like what I understand, sort of like a train in Willy Wonka when you go through there with all the psychedelic stuff. It's just baseball stuff going by you. That's been down for the whole year. So we didn't get to do that. But we saw where Hank Aaron hit his last home run. It's out in the parking lot marked because the old stadium is next to the new one. We got to go in Bob Uecker's press box with all the pictures of Bob and people. And he's got a really nice chair that says Uecker on the back, but he sits down in one of these chairs a little closer that's just duct taped. It's falling apart. He likes that chair better. We went to where the press box was, and any baseball that goes flying by and hits the wall and puts a hole in it, they mark it with the pitcher who threw it, the batter who foul tipped it, and the date. So that's kind of cool. You got to see all
Cool.
that. Yeah, that was kind of neat. And we went on the field. We went into the bullpen, and I thought we'd get to slide down Bernie's Chalet, Chateau or whatever that is, but they didn't let us. And Brody thought it was probably not a good idea. I'd probably get too much momentum down that thing, go over the top or something like that. So I didn't do that, but it was great if you guys get a chance, tour it, and it's a blast. So that's what we've been doing up here. I got my brewer cub. They've got I always get the pocket schedules because one day I think that will be a thing of the past. I think, a lot of other sports are not having pocket schedules anymore, but baseball has kept it going. And then, of course, Peralta's on the scorecard, which is kind of cool. So
Yeah.
just showing off the little things there, and they don't cost much of nothing, and just things you can have. And we're going tomorrow night to see the Dodgers and the Brewers, so that'll be fun. And we're sitting right behind the bullpen, so we're gonna get there early and try to talk to Joe Kelly before the game. So that's what I've
Nice.
been doing.
Nice. Very good. Well, it's that time of the show that we do the beer corner.
My favorite.
And you know what I realized? Let's say we do this for another 3 years.
Okay, right?
That's 150 more beers. I don't know if they make that many right now. So I thought, okay, every now and then, I'm not going to have a beer. I'm just going to talk something about beer.
Okay.
And so what I thought I would do is kind of break down the different kinds of beers because you hear terms ales, stouts, pilsners, lagers. There is a difference, and most people, even beer drinkers, are not familiar with the difference. So I'm just going to spend the beer corner kind of doing some education. I didn't know the difference, so I looked it up. Um, so here's a few things about the different kinds of beers. First of all, an ale is a beer that is brewed by fast fermentation with quick acting yeast at relatively high temperatures. Okay. So if it's fast fermented, has a quick acting yeast, and is brewed at a high temperature, that is an ale. So you hear of ales and you also hear of pale ales. Pale ales are typically golden in color and have a pleasure balance of maltiness and hoppy flavor. So there are different kinds of ales, and pale ale, which is very popular, is a part of that family of ales. Another part of that family of ales are the IPAs. You know what IPA stands for?
No, I do not.
They're India Pale Ales. I don't know
Oh,
why they
okay.
call them India Pale Ales.
Yeah,
IPAs seem to, like the last 15 years, just exploded.
it's a big
Okay,
thing.
IPAs are easily one of the most popular beers in the US. And these are ales that pack a punch with hops that are bitter. So it has kind of a different taste to it. And many brewers, what they do, this is the kind of an ale where they add like a fruity flavor to it, and it gives it a strong fruity taste. And I think that's why a lot of traditional beer drinkers don't like the IPAs, is because it's not a smooth beer. It's a stronger beer. It's got that fruity flavor. It's like that shock top that I had last week. I gave it a 3. People who like IPAs would probably make it higher, but I'm just not a huge fan of that kind of a punch, when I have a beer, which is basically once a week. So, what is a lager? I
Canadian beer?
don't know. Oh, yes, I do know. Okay. A lager is a type of beer that is brewed and conditioned at low temperatures.
Oh, okay.
So when you go to the brewery at Anheuser-Busch and they talk about, the low temperature, that's because they're making lagers in those. Um, and a Pilsner is a subset of a lager. It's a pale lager. So when you see something that is a traditional lager, it's probably going to have that more yellowish color. But when you have a Pilsner, it's going to be a little more on the pale side. And Pilsners are typically the beers that they pour in the long, kind of like trumpet flaring out, a
Okay.
Pilsner glass, I guess you could say. So And then under lagers, there are what they call American lagers, and this is what most traditional American beer drinkers have drank. They are slightly malty. They have a low IBU, which is an international bitterness unit, so they measure that, and a smooth body that makes it very drinkable. And that's why, like your Budweiser and all these other lagers, they're pretty smooth to drink. You don't like put them in your mouth and want to, oh my gosh, it's too strong. It's not like that. And it's like the joke I made on here that Monty Python said years ago, and this is what they're talking about. It's American lagers, American beers are like making love in a canoe. It's effing close to water. So that's the way other countries look at American lagers. So porters are noticeably dark in color because the malted grains are roasted before brewing. And these are typically heavy bodied and sweet. And when I had that Guinness, that would probably fall into more of a porter. And then there are stouts. Stouts are a dark brew. They look similar to porters, but they are made with unmalted roasted barley and are typically more bitter. These are the kind of beers that I just don't like. Stouts. Yuck. Because I'm American, man. I want my
Yeah,
lager. So
God love it.
anyway, I just wanted to throw those out instead of having a beer. So I'm giving the opener that Rebecca got me about 5 years ago. I'm putting that on hiatus for the day, and that's our beer corner. Just a little bit of education of what some of these beers are.
Very
Any
good. I knew
questions?
none of that. I knew none of that, and that's what's your favorite? What is your favorite style of beer then?
Oh, an American lager.
American lager. Okay.
Yeah, because yeah, I I don't like hard liquors. I don't like hard liquors. They're too hard. Most wines I don't like. I like a Riesling, which is a smoother white wine that's chilled. But I don't like a lot of wines, and I don't like when the alcohol volume, especially with some wines, reaches like 19-20%. Um, Beer generally has a low alcohol level, and I want something that I can drink. So
Okay.
I would not say that there's any beer that I love. I've never been a huge drinker of anything. But yeah, an American lager would be my favorite.
Very cool.
Well, what's going on in fantasy baseball?
We're getting down to the nitty gritty. 18 days to go. And we got all the tiebreakers. So if records in, it's head to head, then total points. So somebody's going to win this. Vince, I'll start over in the National League because right now the Padres, and that's Robbie Spear, has pulled away. With only 18 days to go, they have a 6.5 game lead over the Cardinals, 6.5 back, and that's with 18 to go. So they're just pulling away. They've got that bullpen, and it's just all happening. The Padres are their hot team right now. The Cubs are in, and the Cardinals are Kevin Lee. Third place, the Cubs have climbed up, and they're making a run at it. They're making a run. And I tell you what, I've said this all year. The Cubs are a good team. I think the Cubs and the Cardinals are right there. You got the top five teams, but we're right there in that bubble with, like, I'd say 12 to 15 teams right there in the middle. We're all kind of in the same boat. We all have some strengths and weaknesses, but there's the cream of the crop 5 teams. But if there's injuries, we can give anybody, all these teams can give everybody a fit. But the Cubs, which is Larry Wildy, 8 games back with 18 to go. Then the Pirates have started declining. They're having trouble winning. They've kind of been in a slump. They're 10 games back. And that is Dennis Rose, my good buddy Dennis Rose. In fifth place, Tom Maget. The Nationals, they were looking good, and then they hit the late summer and they started fading a little bit, 12.5 back. And in last place, they have been eliminated. They've been eliminated from the race. The Colorado Rockies, Brandon Schmidt. So Brandon, thank you for playing. Yeah. We salute you, and there's always next year. There's always next year, Colorado. But they're 23.5 games back, 44 and 76. And they'd be the talk of the town if it wasn't for the team on the American League side, which we'll get to now. Over in the American League side, we have a three-team race, and it's getting really tight. The Royals and Brody Jackson, who you saw a little bit earlier, 65-54, hanging on to first place. But 2 games back are the Seattle Mariners, Andrew Gieselman, and the Boston Red Sox, Ray Hartman, both 2 games back with 18 to go. So this is going to be fun. The Tigers,
Brody, talk some smack.
you talk some smack, Brody.
I can't. He kept coming back, and we kept having a neck race this entire season.
Yeah, it's just been back and forth all year. He's having such a good time doing this. But anyway, he ain't counting his loot yet. Fourth place, Tony Pruno and the Detroit Tigers. They've kind of faded. They're still technically in it, but they've faded. And in fifth place, Candy Barks and the California Angels, 13 back. And then our favorite, a team that just kind of hangs in there. They broke their losing streak. But they have been eliminated. Dan Rutledge and the Chicago White Sox. And believe it or not, Vince, they won 2 games this week. They're 29-91, and they beat the Yankees last night. Wasn't it like 12-2? And they're 36 and a half games back with 18 to go. So it's been nice knowing you, Chicago White Sox, but there is next year. So that's it right now. Royals and Padres, but don't count out the Cardinals and Cubs, Mariners and Red Sox. We got a little time left.
In general news, Shohei Ohtani, you may know him as the best pitcher on the Dodgers, best hitter on the Dodgers, best manager on the best bat boy on the Dodgers, best hot dog vendor on the Dodgers. But anyway, he's going to face some live hitters before the end of the season, not in a major league game, not in a game setting, but he's going to probably have a few throwing sessions where they have some live hitters in there, and he's going to do that before the end of the season, which is a little bit ahead of schedule. Remember, he can't rehab a whole lot during the season because he's hitting the baseball. So this is good news for him that he's a little bit ahead of schedule. And what's amazing is that he's doing all this, he's doing some throwing now. He's doing all this while still basically being the best hitter in the National League. So awesome.
He's amazing, Vince. There's nothing he does that's normal. He's great at everything, even rehab. You set a schedule up for him and he gets ahead of it. And I think this guy just eats and sleeps baseball, and he's a delight to watch. I wish he was on our team. We were hoping to catch a glimpse of him down there when we were taking our tour, but no such luck. But I just think he's great for baseball, and my gosh, what a player. We get to see him play live tomorrow night.
I don't know if you saw this, but Jarren Duran, who was the MVP of the All-Star game, he's playing in a game and he steps out of the batter's box, and a fan made a comment like you couldn't hit with a tennis racket. And Jarren Duran, this is 2024. And did we not learn anything with Tom Brenneman? He stepped out of the batter's box with a live mic and used a homophobic slur. And he got suspended for 2 games. Now, Tom Brenneman said the same slur on a hot mic in 2020, and he not only got fired from the Reds, he was also working for Fox Sports, and he got the heave-ho there too. I obviously with a pride hat on, I've got family members who identify with LGBTQ community. I wish people would at least be respectful. If you don't agree with it, if you've got religious convictions about LGBTQ, that's your interpretation of life, But out of respect for human beings, can we get to a point where we stop all name calling? It just seems so juvenile. It seems so third gradish to be calling names. And I athletes are kind of sheltered. It's he's been in a culture that is hyper masculine sports, and that word is used a lot in hyper masculinity. And then when you step out of that bubble into the real world, so to say, you find out that there's a lot of things that you do in your bubble that aren't necessarily the best things to say, and they have consequences. I think he's fortunate he's only getting a 2-game suspension, and to his credit, he's apologized. He admits he shouldn't have said it. It was wrong, so on and so forth. And I do respect him for that. Um, but it's just like, man, Jaron, use your head, you know, use your head. Um, and I know there are baseball players who like to banter with the fans, and that's fine. But and I'm sure in his mind he wasn't like seriously trying to denigrate this guy. He just, probably just kind of a needling thing. But man, the athletes today, they need to realize that there are mics everywhere. It's a different world than what they're used to in their bubble. Um, get out of that. There have only, to my knowledge, been 2 baseball players who came out as gay, and those were both after their career. That was Glenn Burks, who played for the Dodgers, and Billy Beane, who played for the Mets. I'm not talking about Billy Beane from Moneyball. I'm talking about the other Billy Beane, the one without the E at the end of his name. But we've had active gay basketball players, we've had active gay football players. Baseball seems to be the last sport that people feel comfortable coming out as. But I just found it a little disheartening that he's using that term in this time. But I did find it very encouraging that he was apologetic. He realized what he said was wrong and he took full responsibility for it. And I just go back to Tom Brenneman, who it was between innings and they had just came back from commercial, and he was talking in general and used that term. And a few innings later, he apologized and said, "I'm probably not going to call a game again." And he was right. Uh, but I felt like we should bring it up,
Oh,
address it.
definitely. I thought there was a time I was listening on the radio that I heard Mike Shannon say, I remember Mike did some drinking, and there was one time I thought I heard him say something, and I was like, did I hear that right? But he never said it again. But sometimes in a quick conversation, I didn't know if I misheard. Now I know the Duran thing, it was very obvious, and the Brenneman thing was kind of long. He went way out of his way to be disrespectful. But yeah, yeah, and everything's mic'd now, like you said. And sometimes these boxing and I grew up watching wrestling, and man, you never knew what they were going to say in the 1970s and stuff. But yeah, it's a different time, and everybody just be kind and respectful to one another. And I know in a heated competition, people do say things. So yeah, I hope this is behind us and learn from it. Maybe he's a young guy, and maybe he'll learn from it, and this won't happen again.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I do want to reiterate, I thought he handled it very classy because we've all made mistakes.
Oh,
We've all said things we shouldn't have said. I
oh,
mean, I
yes, sir.
I'm just as guilty as anyone else. And the way I was raised is, you know, your problem isn't when you make a mistake, even an egregious one. Your problem is when you don't own up to it. And he owned up to it. And I once called a gentleman. I was in middle school, and I called him an old man. right to his face, being a
They-
little jerk. And boy, he put me in my place. I mean, he gave me a chewing out, so I never did that again. So, and now that I am an old man, I was called an old man a few weeks ago.
Oh, I know.
I
It's
was
just
at
in
the
the
grocery
core.
store in the chip aisle, and some lady asked her little 3-year-old son where something was. He said, "It's where that old man's standing."
Oh, you become a yard marker. You're
She said, "I'm sorry." I said, "It is what it is." So
Oh, I think you're young and youthful, Vince. I think you're young and
that's
youthful.
because you're like 2 years older than me.
I'm 2 years older than you. I Yes, I'm trying to hang on as long as I can. Vince, I don't know if you heard this, but I think this is a great story. Rod Carew, this week he turned 78 years old and he became an American citizen. I think that's fantastic. Rod Carew.
Wow.
Yeah, he was from Panama, and he's been here for a long, long time. He became American citizen. I think it's fantastic. He's one of the few ball players that you like legends that never won a World Series. I got a list here, and I mean, you feel for these guys. And in baseball, and they talk about in basketball and football, how many rings do you have? But it's so hard in baseball. The season's so long, and now the playoffs. Just get to the playoffs. It's a team sport. You can't just give the one guy the ball or hand off to this one guy. It's a team sport. So there's just been so many great players that never won a World Series. I just have a few: Larry Walker, Ralph Kiner, Roy Halladay, Robin Yount, Phil Niekro. There's some great Cub players. I
Ernie
didn't want
Banks.
Ernie Banks. Ernie Banks, one of the all-time greatest players.
Ryan
I
Sandberg.
know, I know, and he's a champion in my book, but just never got to win the World Series. And then you got people like Will Smith. We talked about the last 3 weeks. He's got three now. Nothing against him. Good for him, Mr. Will Smith. But he's got the last three World Championships, and Ernie Banks didn't get any. Ken Griffey Jr. What an icon player. Never won a World Series, and Rod Carew is one of those people as well. So anyway, welcome aboard, my fellow American, Rod Carew.
Awesome. They're talking about expanding by 2 more teams.
Yes,
Um, when there was a time, I think I think at the turn of the 20th century, it was 8 teams in each league, so 16 teams total, if I'm not mistaken. Now we're going to have twice that many teams. It is so hard. You're going to have 32 teams and you're going to try to be the best one. It's so hard to.
and there's not enough pitching to go around right now, Vince. There's not enough pitching. So yeah, but in a way, I don't know. I think baseball. I don't think it's as popular as it was in the 1950s compared to the other sports. But in a way, it's still a $1 billion industry. It's played all over the world now, more so. And in some ways, it might be even more popular now. Uh, the contracts, but of course, that's economy. Everybody makes more money now. But anyway, I just think it'd be. I'm not opposed to it. We've gone this far. What's two more teams? What's two more teams?
Yeah, it used to be a big deal to win the pennant.
Yes,
Um, and then if you won the World Series, that was icing on the cake. But the pennant was the thing because you had two separate leagues. There were no wild cards. It was just a long season. And if you won that marathon, you won the pennant. That was a huge deal. And then you played the World Series, and even if you lost the World Series, you won the pennant. Um, and I I wish maybe we'd give a little more credence to winning the pennant again because
I do.
you're to represent the league. And I know, with the integration of everything and balance schedule and everything, it's not the same as it was when we were growing up when there were just two separate leagues. Um, But to be able to win, to be the best team out of 16 is something special. But then if you do that and you lose the World Series, nobody remembers you. That's the team that lost the World Series. If you lose a memorable World Series like the like the Red Sox in 75 or the Braves in 91 or the Indians, now the Guardians in 2016, those epic type World Series, you do remember the teams that lost then, but I'm sure in a couple of years I'm going to think, now who'd the Rangers beat in the World Series? Yeah.
Ain't that the truth? You think back, I say, Brody, who won it 2 years ago? And we have trouble remembering all that now. I do anyway, because the years kind of blend into each other. What happened? Which one was when they hit the trash cans? When the Astros did that? Thinking about those kind of years. They've got the power rankings out, and the top five teams. And the reason I'm bringing this up, Vince, is we probably can name the top five teams. It's the Yankees, the Orioles, the Phillies, the Dodgers, and Diamondbacks. And this power ranking thing's always, every week, it's evolving and moving. And, but the thing is, all these teams have went through a kind of a dry spell here in the summertime. The Yankees, as powerful of a team they have a lot of injuries, and they have a losing record since the beginning of June. This team is beatable. They're a great team, but I'm looking this year, we could have a Ranger or a Diamondback team get in there. The Padres could be one of those teams. The Cardinals or the Cubs, Vince. The Cardinals or the Cubs. Who knows? The Orioles lost 10 out of 15 games in July, and this team is power packed. I think once the season resets in the playoffs, though, it'll be a different story and hopefully they get all their guys back. And of course, Jackson Holliday's up playing now. The Phillies lost 12 of 15 in a stretch, but they were without JT Realmuto, Harper, and Schwarber was out. You get those guys back, and they're still got a nice lead. The Dodgers, they've had some stretches in there, and a lot of injuries. Another pitcher for the Dodgers went down. We were talking about expansion. Well, they're having trouble, and they spent over $1 billion in contracts in the offseason. And they got the Padres nipping on their butts, and then the Diamondbacks, who have actually come on of late and played very good ball. It looked like they had that hangover from last season, but now they're putting it together. So look out, the Diamondbacks could be back in this, making a run at it. So it's up for grabs. I don't think, you look at the top 5, 6, Cleveland's up there too. But this could be a year we see somebody come out of the wilderness and make a run at it. So I'm excited about the postseason, Vince.
I am too. And there's another team that has kind of worked their way back into relevancy. And with their pitching, maybe they could be this year's Diamondbacks. And I'm talking about the Giants. They've got the pitching. And I thought it was a mistake that they got rid of Soler. But since the trade deadline, they've played really good. And they just seem like the kind of team that's floating under the radar. If they can make it in, if they can make one of those wild card spots, I could see them giving some fits.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. They made some moves too. They decided they got some people back, and I know they moved Jordan Hicks, who I like. He came out of the shoot hot, starting pitching in April. Middle of May kind of became what we've seen in St. Louis, but now he's in the bullpen, and I think that's a better spot for him, to be honest with you. I'm glad he wanted to start, and went out there and did his best, but I think he's even a more dominant pitcher in the bullpen with that blazing 100-mile-an-hour pitches he throws.
Yeah,
So,
when he started against the Cubs, I think we faced him twice, and his fastball was topping out at 96, which is good. But I know Jordan Hicks can still go over 100 if he's just airing it out, and you can't do that when you're a starter. Well, I guess you can. A lot of them do, but he's not doing it as a starter. But so I think the bullpen is. I know he wants to start, but that's what he's better suited for. So I just kind of like the Giants.
all right, yeah. Hey, I got to see him this year. They're a gritty team. They got some young players. I know they had like the superstar Korean prospect, and he got hurt. And I don't know when he's going to be back. It may be next year, but they've got some good young players coming too. So good for the Giants, man.
Now they're all-star. His first name is Elliott, and I can't remember his last name. Anyway, I really like his swing. He had a good series against the Cubs in San Francisco and in Chicago. He was an all-star, and I think he's got a pretty decent future as a hitter. And his game plays in that park. There, Buster Posey, his game played in that park, hitting those line shots in the alleys, and hitting all those doubles. That's what Elliott does. I wish I could remember his last name. But anyway, I just kind of like what the Giants look like.
Next year, I don't know if you know this, but they've already got there's a lot of players that aren't signed with their teams. And this offseason, I mean, both us and us teams in the Central. I'll say all the teams in the Central. There's going to be a lot of players out there up for grabs, and Ryan O'Hare, I know he's a player that you like. His contract's up at the end of this year, and just some of the big names, Juan Soto, and I think he's got a perfect marriage in New York. But I know the Mets want him too. I wish Mark was on tonight. We talk about that, but with his agent, and we all know who his agent is, he might go just to the highest bidder. But I'd love to see him stay with the Yankees. Corbin Burns, who I'd love to have,
Future
and
Cub.
future, it could be. Um, I mean, yeah. Oh, that's another reason the Brewers would hate the Cubs right there. And Pete Alonso, who's been also mentioned with the Cubs, Max Fried, Alex Bergman, Danny Jansen, who you've talked about before, Goldschmidt. It's the last year of his contract. Reese Hoskins. Um, uh, just more of those kind of guys, but there's going to be a big bunch of free agents. Walker Buehler, but he's been hurt a lot. Jack Flaherty, a lot of these guys are going to be out there next year. Ozuna, who's having a big year this year, is going to be as of this moment, going to be a free agent next year. So look out for those names. There could be a lot of movement during like the trading deadline. It could be a really hot time over the winter with these signings and stuff like that.
Oh, any other general news?
Well, while I was up here, they were shooting some commercials in the stadium when we took our tour, and they did something special for their season ticket holders. Bryce Terang and Joey Ortiz, their third baseman, who's really fit in here. They really love him here. They designed a tennis shoe, Milwaukee Brewers style, and all of their season ticket holders get tennis shoes designed by those two players. I think that's
Wow.
pretty. I think that's pretty cool. So
Cool.
anyway, I wish St. Louis. I'm not a season ticket holder, but I wish they would do something like that. That'd be pretty cool. And that's it for all my weekend baseball news.
What's going on in Cardinal land?
Well, you know what? We're just one of those teams. I think we're just right around 500, one on one side of the middle or the other. We had last Tuesday when we did the podcast, we were playing Tampa Bay, and all of a sudden it looked like we're going to catch fire again. We won the first game 4-3. Sonny Gray won his 11th game. He's got a 3.65 ERA. Been everything we could hope through 7 innings, only gave up 2 runs, 6 strikeouts, and the bullpen was great. Kittredge came in when they only got to throw 2 innings. We're usually on top of it. Kittredge, 1 inning was perfect, and Helsley had a little lead, and that's when he has trouble. He went an inning, an earned run, a walk, a K, and thanks to a great play by Wynn at the end of the game, we won that game. And he got his 35th save. But he did put the scare into us. Tommy Pham, 2 more hits. Podges is hitting better, 2 more hits. And Victor Scott came up in that game and hit his first home run. And he just looks better. Yes. I'm this kid, he had trouble hitting. He was great defender, and he's running the base pads, fantastic. But since he's been back, and he gave a lot of credit, and I think it was Ryan Ludwig, who's working with him down in the minors at Memphis, a lot of credit on helping him with the swing. Pham hit another home run. He's been super hot since he's been here, and seems like he's playing with new enthusiasm, and the team has really responded to him as well. An error was made by Wynn. And Vince, I do want to say this. I've been watching a lot of baseball. I'm on vacation, and I've seen a lot of teams. They're obvious errors. De La Cruz came in on a ball and he just didn't put his glove down all the way. He is 6'7", but he put his glove and the ball went underneath his glove and they said base hit. It wasn't an error. And I'm like, what? That's an error. I seen wisdom. And Bobby Witt Jr. made an error and they called it a hit. And even the announcers for the Royals go, well, they're being very generous because that was an error. So I've seen some of the official scores kind of, being a little kind with the errors. But Wynn did make his 11th error in that game. So anyway, that's my soapbox on that. The next day was Wednesday, and the Cardinals played Tampa Bay again, and we won 5-2. And we out hit them by a hit. They made 2 errors. They kind of gave it to us. Fetty got his first, it was a second start, but he got his first win with the team. He went 5 innings. It seems like there was a lot of people on base in that game. And the bullpen came in and was fantastic. Fernandez, Jojo Romero, Kittredge, and Helsley got his 36th save. And the hitting stars in that game, Burleson, Arenado, and Contreras each got 2 hits. And so nice team win there. It was like Cardinals have that style of, battling the other team, making the pitcher work, getting them out early and beating the bullpen. And it worked this game here. Well, the third game of the series, we won the first 2. It'd been nice to get a sweep, but the Tampa Bay beat us 6-4, and they just out-hit us. They outplayed us. It's one of those games. We had a 4-2 lead going into the 6th inning. Things were looking good, and Tampa Bay came up with 3 runs in the 7th and beat us. But on the good side of things, Goldschmidt and Arenado both had stolen bases. Our defense made 3 double plays. Arenado got 3 hits. Let's see, Donovan got 3 hits, and Scott got 2 more hits, and he's up to 110 now. I'm not trying to make light of a 110 batting average, but he was hitting like 079. So he's come a long way just to get it up to 110, and he's just looking better at the plate. We missed Ciani because he was just becoming a big part of our offense after working so hard all year long. Gibson pitched a real good game. He's been very good for us. 6 innings and 2 earned runs. Quality start, but the bullpen blew it that day. And the bullpen was Leahy, Romero, Armstrong, and it's just. And I want to say Dylan Carlson was 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs. So good for Dylan Carlson. I'm glad he's over with Tampa Bay and he's getting playing time. And I wished it had worked out here, but it didn't for whatever reason. So wishing Dylan Carlson all the luck in the world. Friday, we had a weird series with Kansas City. We were playing on Friday and Saturday with a day off Sunday. That's kind of unusual. Usually everybody plays on Sunday. But we played them Friday night. We beat them, which was great because they came to St. Louis and beat us in a doubleheader and smacked us around. We beat them 8-5. Liberatore got the win. And I bring that up because Michaelis did not have it. 4 innings, 5 earned runs. And they looked like they were just going to rout us. And Liberatore came in and threw 3 innings and just shut them down. And it was a game Contreras had 2 home runs. And I just love I don't need to praise him too much. Y'all know how great a player is. 3 hits, 2 home runs, and he's just a spark plug. Even when he's running the bases, he's so excited. He's in there high-fiving each other and having a good time. Victor Scott came in and got the go-ahead double. So, just so happy for him. Burleson 3 hits, Donovan 3 hits, and our bullpen came in and did a good job. Liberatore, Kittredge, and Helsley, with Liberatore just being the star of the game. But Helsley got his 37th save. So Saturday, man, maybe we can return the favor and take this series. No, Kansas City was just way better than us that day. It was just a day. It was their day. We looked terrible. Fernandez took the loss out of the bullpen, but Goldie did hit 2 home runs. Gorman was 3 for 4, and Palante pitched a solid game, but the bullpen just blew it. The bullpen was terrible that day. But, teams have that day. And then we were off Sunday, which is kind of odd for this time of the year. And we played Cincinnati, and I was hoping maybe with Sonny Gray going, we could keep the winning going. But Vince, it was a 6-1 loss. We couldn't get it going in that game. Sonny pitched 5 innings to give up 6 earned runs. And as good as he pitched the beginning of the week, he was bad the second start. Goldie went 2 for 4. He's got his batting average up to 235. He's really come on of late. And we only got 5 hits. So anyway, that was our week right there. That's 1 and 2, 3 and 2, 3 and 3, 3 and 3 on the week. And that's kind of been our story for the last 4 weeks, Vince. We're 1 game under, 1 game over, 500 for the week. So we're just kind of hanging in there. But that being said, the Brewers haven't played that well either of late. So you guys have, but the Brewers, the Cardinals, the Reds, and the Pirates haven't really lit it, or the Pirates haven't lit it on fire. Yeah.
Can you imagine in a couple of years, you're going to have Victor Scott in center field and we're going to have PCA in center field?
It's going to be a track meet. It's going to be a track meet.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Them two at the top of the thing for the All-Star team, just turn them loose. And Daily
Yeah.
Brewery.
Oh, before I get into the games, I do want to mention a few things. On Saturday, Mallory Swanson and the women's national soccer team won gold.
Ooh,
And also in Chicago, her husband Dansby got his 1,000th career hit, excuse me,
outstanding.
in Chicago. So um, that's pretty cool,
Yeah.
Good day for the Swansons. I want to, since July 4th, the 8th and 9th hitters for the Cubs have an OPS of 780. Before July 4th, the 8th and 9th place hitters in the Cubs lineup had an OPS below 600. So the Cubs went 4-1 this week. Why the Cubs have crawled back into relevance is because that bottom of the lineup had been a black hole. We had Gomes batting there. We had Amaya who couldn't hit there. We've had PCA there. We had a lot of people we were trying to assimilate into the lineup for various reasons, but they weren't producing in that bottom part of the lineup. But since July 4th, that has taken off. First of all, Amaya, they set him for about 3 or 4 games, and he went to work with Nelson Cruz on his hitting, and he had a high leg kick, and they've eliminated that leg kick, and since then he's been hitting, so that's good. We got rid of Gomes and we got Christian Bethancourt off the scrap heap. I mean, he's doing nothing, and he has been hitting for us. Not only has he been hitting, he's been throwing out base runners. I like him on this team, and I hope maybe next year there's a place for him. We had PCA who was hitting well below 200. And then in July, he started turning it on, and his average is getting close to 220 now. And he's shown some poppy at another home run last night. So as we have crawled back to relevancy, it is directly linked to the production at the bottom of the lineup, which has been tremendous. And the rest of the lineup has started hitting too. Let's get real. For a couple months, nobody in this team was hitting. Nobody. So, we currently, going into last night's game, we had a 3.73 team ERA, which is third in Major League Baseball, which means we should be a playoff team if we were hitting decent for the first, up until July, we'd be good. Listen to this bullpen since July 1st. Hector Neris, 12 and a third innings, 2 earned runs, 1.46 ERA. Jorge Lopez. Now this is the guy who the Mets cut loose because he threw his glove into the stands. Since we've got him 14 and a third innings, 1 earned run, a 0.63 ERA. What I love about Lopez, he comes in and he throws strikes. And you know how much I love that.
Yes.
Tyson Miller, we picked him off the scrap heap, I believe, from the Blue Jays. 13 innings pitched since July 1st, 2 earned runs, 1.39 ERA. Porter Hodge, who we called up from AAA, 15 and 2/3 of an innings, 5 earned runs for a 2.87 ERA. Drew Smiley, Since July 1st, 18 and a third innings pitched, 3 earned runs for 1.47 ERA. And Ethan Roberts, I threw him in here too. He's just come back. He's only got 7 innings under his belt, 1 earned run, 1.29 ERA. This is a team whose bullpen was so bad, we couldn't trust any lead. And then suddenly in July, it's like the switch flicked on, and these guys have been tremendously great. So I'm really excited about the rest of the season, see if the bullpen can keep doing what they've been doing. Some bad news, Cade Horton, who we expected to see this year at some time in the rotation. He's got a shoulder injury, and he's going to be out for the season. Ben Brown, who did pitch for us, who was so fantastic. And then he just kind of like, I think I got a stiff neck, and it's kind of ballooned, and he's going to be out for the rest of the season too. So two of our great pitching prospects, our two best pitching prospects, along with Caleb Killian, makes them the three best, who's also injured. They're going to be out for the rest of the season. So don't have them. So that's kind of sad, but real quickly, we had a 4-1 week. Why did we only play 5 games? And I will explain that. Last Tuesday, second game against the Twins in Chicago, we won 7-3. Paredes had 2 hits and 4 RBIs, including his 17th home run. Horner had a couple hits. Swanson had 3 hits. And Imanaga pitched 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 10 Ks, only 2 hits to push his record to 9-2. So we won the second game against the Twins. And in the rubber game against Minnesota last Wednesday, we won 8-2. Hap, he hit his 18th home run, 2 RBIs. Bush hit his 16th home run to go along with 2 hits. Christian Bethancourt, 2 hits, 2 for 3, so very good. PCA, 22nd stolen base, not been thrown out yet. And this is what drives me nuts with Assad. 4 innings pitched, 3 runs, 2 earned, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. Sounds pretty good. He's at 97 pitches, and you got to take him out. So Assad's a 4-inning pitcher right now. I'm striking me bananas, but Lopez did come in, and he got the win. So that's very good. So after Wednesday, we had Thursday off. And then Friday, we go to USL, whatever they call it, Comiskey, New Comiskey, I call it.
Yes.
We beat the White Sox 7-6. We had a 7-0 lead. Hap had his 19th home run. Bellinger had his 12th. Horner had his 5th, and we jumped all over Garrett Crochet. I mean, we ambushed him. Hap 2 hits. Bellinger 3. Paredes 2 more hits. Horner a couple of hits. PCA 3 hits. PCA 23rd stolen base. Creeping up there towards the record for starting a career, which is 26 by Mitchell Page. I would have never guessed it was Mitchell Page, but
I forgot about it.
anyway, Tyone got the win. 5 innings, 9 hits, 5 earned runs. I mean, he had a 7-0 lead and was lucky to make 5 innings. And Neris got his 16th save, even though he does make it interesting every time he comes in. He gets no style points. So then Saturday, we play our second game against the White Sox to finish off the series with the White Sox. We went 3-1. Swanson a couple of hits. Amaya 2 more hits. Steele pitched 6 innings of no earned runs, 1 run total. But he didn't get the win. Porter Hodge came in and got the win. Neris had a 17th save. Actually pitched a clean inning, a whole inning. You know, he was against a Double-A team, the White Sox, but hey, he had a clean inning. So we had Sunday off because of that scheduling quirk. And then last night we played Cleveland, and we're up 3-0. And by the time I stopped watching it, we were down 8-3. We lost 9-8. This game frustrated me. Okay. First of all, Hap hit his 20th. PCA hit his 4th. Suzuki had a couple of hits. We crawl back into the game, and it is 8-8 going into the bottom of the 8th. Now, in the 7th, we bring in Julian Merriweather, and he doesn't pitch good. In fact, there was a rocket that was a double play, got him out of the inning. But we're tied 8-8 going into the 8th. You bring in Tyson Miller, you bring in Jorge Lopez, you bring in Drew Smiley, you bring in someone, because what's happened? We have had all these days off. And then at the end of the series on Thursday, we're going to have another day off. Your bullpen is fresh. There's no reason to march Julian Merriweather, who's not been back from injury for too long, and he hasn't pitched well since he's been back from injury. But counsel, for some reason, put him out there in the 8th, and he gave up the 9th run, and Cleveland won because they have God at the end of the bullpen. And what frustrated me when I rewatched it was, I'm like, why is Merriweather going out there in the 8th? Why is Merriweather going out there in the 8th? And of course, he gives up a run, and there you go. So whatever. What got me mad is when counsel was asked about that at the press conference, he said, that's baseball. That's not a freaking answer. You
Right.
tell us why you sent out Julian Merriweather when you had arrested Lopez, you had arrested Tyson Miller, you had arrested Porter Hodge, you had arrested Drew Smiley, you had arrested Neris, who could come in the 8th. You had options. You have a tie game. You can't give games away this time of the year. There's too much at stake. I can't think of too many games where I felt like, and I'm not saying we would have won this. I'm just saying he didn't help us.
Yeah.
Can't think of too many games where I feel like, okay, I can put that one on counsel. I could think of a lot of them last year with Ross. But counsel, I don't think he's done a great job as a manager. I think he's getting acclimated to Chicago. I think he's getting acclimated to the players. And it is proven as the season has went on, the team has gotten better. But by golly, you've got to face the music with the press and say, this is why I did this. I want my answer why he thought Merriweather was the best option in the 8th inning.
I'm with you.
But he doesn't answer my calls. So
No, that's baseball, apparently.
But anyway, if we win that game, we're at 500. We lose, we're 2 under. So we're 2 under 500. Last I checked, we're down 2-1 to Cleveland, which means that God himself, I don't know if Klaus is going to pitch tonight, if they got a lead going into the night, because he's thrown 3 straight games. But Jeezel Beazle. And Cleveland, which has, I mean, they're going to make the playoffs. They've been scuffling a little bit, but they're going to make the playoffs. They're 20 games over 500. Cleveland, last night, after Klaus had pitched 2 straight games in the previous series, they could have won with someone else, but they think, no, victories this time of the year are precious. We need this victory now, and they went for it. And that's what just counsel doesn't seem to understand urgency. And maybe that's because he had such great pitching in Milwaukee, he would get comfortable leads and he didn't have to feel urgency. But by golly, you should have managed that 8th inning different. That's all I got to say.
No, I'm with you.
There is only one person who can put me in a better mood. And you know who that is?
Oh, it's got to be Jeremy Connor.
Jeremy Connor.
Yay!
Comes a time in every man's life when he needs some advice on relationships. You need to listen to the podcast DMDR, which stands for Dating, Marriage, Divorce, Remarriage, from my good friend Jeremy Connor, the Dr. Phil of the Boot Hill. You can find DMDR on Spotify or whatever platform you choose to listen to your podcast. Welcome once again from a Boys Dream Hobby Shop in beautiful Caledonia, Missouri. Brad, Juliette. Brad, what do you have coming up? Because this is so cool.
So we have Tommy Herr coming up this Saturday from 11 to 1. Then David Freese in October. He's going to be here from 4 to 6 because he will be signing in, I think it's West County that day before he's coming down. So he'll be here from 4 to 6 here on Pumpkin Fest, which is on 10/12. And it's not official. We're close. We have Jose Canseco in November on 11/9 for 3 hours. So
oh my gosh.
a Bash brother.
I'm challenging him to a home run derby, softball style,
I'm not
football
challenging
style.
nothing. But yeah, I mean, it's not official. But I think it is. So,
Oh, you right here, breaking news on one Cardinal, one Cub, one beer. This is
yep.
fantastic.
And Beckett will be here from here on out. So,
Authorization of
yep,
all your
yep,
pieces.
yep.
See, I think that's fantastic.
It is.
Let the viewers know why that's important.
Well, it's important because like if you got a picture with them, a lot of times PSA will authenticate it and stuff like that. But it's just done and it's over with for just a little bit of money. Like, say, I think Beckett charges $8, just like for Tommy Herr, David Freese, and Canseco. It's a big deal. I mean, I think a lot of these guys are starting to get their respect they deserve. I mean, Canseco was a great player, no matter what.
Oh yeah,
Regardless of what you think. I mean, he almost hit one in Toronto out of the stadium, and there was a dome on it.
home run derbies. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, he was my, like, those guys are my guy, the Bash brothers. But Tommy Herr, like I said, tell me a better second baseman for the Cardinals in the last 50 years. And I'm not talking about Ryan Sandberg, by the way. So I'm not talking
Right.
about
This
Cubs
is the
tonight.
Cardinal realm. Oh yeah. Got to go back to Shane Dinks probably to any of
He
our
probably
second
wasn't a
basemen.
better hitter than Herr.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
He might have been. But you got Vina, Bruce Polonic, Tony Womack. I mean, there's some guys in there, but they weren't better than Tommy Herr on paper.
All right. Hornsby.
Well, yeah, he's the greatest right-hand hitter of all time. But Joe DiMaggio might argue that
That's the
he's
only one I can think of off the top of my head.
yeah. I'm just saying, yeah, Hornsby. I said 50 years.
Oh, you did. I stand corrected.
Now,
Ryan Sandberg is the greatest second baseman. I mean, the other person you'd argue would probably be Joe Morgan. Obviously, Morgan was a monster. So
Oh yeah.
Morgan was better than her. He's probably better than Sandberg. So
now let me ask you this. When did authentication become a big thing? Because collectors in yesteryear, this bat was signed by the Babe. How do you know? Because it's got his autograph on it, you know? When did
right.
this authorization become a big thing?
I think the 90s and 2000s. And the thing about it is like what I've realized, like I've gotten Mickey Mantle autographs brought to me that weren't authenticated, and they're like, "What do I do with this?" I'm like, I mean, it's just a signature unless you have it authenticated. It's either worth $500 or it's worth no dollars. And I'm just still learning some of this stuff myself. And like I met Don from Beckett, and he's been awesome. And he helps me with this kind of stuff. And now he's going to authenticate the stuff on site. But it's a big deal for me personally because I do have a couple of Mantle autographs that I'm trying to authenticate. One for a customer, one that my aunt gave to me, and obviously Mantle and Williams are my guys. But
Yes.
it's very difficult. I look at it like this. It's like a liquid asset if it's authenticated. When you go, let's just say you decide, I'm just done. I want to sell it. Throw it on eBay. You have the Beckett authentication. You can sell it, get what you want for it. If it don't have that, it's a totally different situation, and that's the bottom line. It's very important, honestly. So
Yeah, I've watched Pawn Stars where they're authenticating autographs from yesteryear, and
think
they
you
they
might be
have the
pros
expert
there.
come in and they basically say, I'm 95% sure this is authentic, but they never can say this is for sure authentic. But they say, from all the peripherals that I see under the microscope and everything, this looks like an authentic autograph. Is there a way for like, yeah, I know we're not in Vegas and in Caledonia, there's probably not somebody running around authenticating things, but is there a way if you have some memorabilia that's signed that was maybe signed a few decades ago, is there a way to have that authenticated uh retroactively?
yeah, I mean, you can, like, I think PSA, Beckett, and I'm still learning on this because typically I would never buy anything unless it was authenticated. So for my personal collection, like Ted Williams and stuff like that, I would make sure it had Jim Spence or Beckett or the major names in there. If you're going to spend that kind of money on something like that, but yeah, there's definitely a way you can send autographs to Beckett or to So I talked to Don a little bit today. He said there's an event in October for Beckett where they will authenticate like a mail autograph, stuff like that coming up. They're not going to be able to do that here because all Don's going to do is authenticate, basically like Tommy Herr on site. And he's got to go back and log all that stuff into the computer, which is, I'm sure it's a lot of work if you follow me. So, it's just, I don't know if people remember this. There was an episode with Pete Rose where there was a guy who faked Pete Rose's autograph, like I think it was the late '90s. It was a big deal, and there were all kinds of fakes running around. So there's certain guys who just don't sign a lot of stuff. Like Michael Jordan don't sign a lot of stuff. Derek Jeter don't sign a lot of stuff. Tiger Woods don't sign very much stuff. So it makes a difference. There people fake a lot of stuff. There's fake cards. So all the time.
Well, we're very appreciative of you, Brad, because you got so much stuff going on at the store that probably some people don't know about. You have these, I don't know what you call them, but where you open packs of cards and people buy slots, the
Breaks,
duck
yep.
races for memorabilia type of things. You want to kind of describe that and tell everybody when you got not only baseball, but you got basketball and football as well, too.
Yeah, we have a baseball break that's going to be Thursday, and these are a big part of our business. I mean, they're the baseball break is we got one spot left, which JJ said he's getting rid of Vimeo $50 maybe. I don't know, we'll see. But I'm joking. But hey, I got you this card in a really good deal. I was just going to give it to you.
Gosh.
But anyways, yeah.
Because I'm a slaughter man.
I know. That's why I bought it. I thought I could make a profit. I got to keep the lights on.
Yeah, I understand.
But anyways, we have a couple breaks coming up. We have football, probably going to be Sunday. Football, for some reason, football is really easy to fill, because it's different. Baseball, you got 1,000 prospects,
That's right.
But we have baseball and basketball filled up, and we're going to run that on Thursday night from 6 to 8. Basketball is going to be the same night. We had a couple duck races going on. It does. People love it. People love the duck races.
I love it. I got pulled to be the Giants, and I got a Monty Irvin, and I got some really 1 of 100 cards. Giants. I was so pleased with that. It was a good time, and I recommend everybody at least watch it and see if you want to be a part of it because it kind of pulls you in. It's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it really is. Like I enjoy them a lot myself. I try not. I don't get in my own breaks personally because I try not to do that. So we like you don't want the Cubs in those breaks, hypothetically speaking, because you're not going to win nothing. Even the archives. I mean, unless you get Ernie Banks, maybe. But
yeah,
we haven't really had a good Cub since Ernie Banks. I think I can't remember. I get confused.
Haven't had a great Cardinal since BB Richards.
Hey, I'm trying. I'm trying to get a little bit of a rise out of him, and he won't take the bait.
he's classy.
I am so used to it, man.
No, I'm just joking. I think it's awesome. I think your guys' show's awesome. But anyways,
bless your heart.
Tommy Herr is going to be a big deal. I think. I mean, we're getting a lot of feedback on him, and you can kind of tell in the pre-signings. You get a lot of stuff sent in, like from different people. For the first time ever, we have a card shop that asks for they could send a bulk order in for a bunch of signings, which is a lot of work. David Freese is going to be a totally different animal. I already know that, so it's a little tough, but I'm working on it. But I'm pretty excited about Tommy Herr coming up. So,
and I already dropped off about 5 cards, paid for it. You set it aside. I'll get them signed. I'm up here this weekend. So thank you. And that's available for people who are interested in that, just can't make it that day.
I do want to say this one last thing and let you guys finish your show. I asked Tommy Herr, I said, can we get a dunking booth for Tom Bernansky? I said, or just let them throw darts at him. Like just throw darts at him. Like a big poster and the women throw darts at him. He goes, no, please don't do that. And I thought that was really funny. He didn't want to do it. I'm like, Tom, it's just a joke. No, like nobody really cares anymore. But he didn't want to do it. It was hilarious. So,
well, my wife cares. My wife. Interesting story. The only reason my wife did not marry Tommy Herr is because he didn't ask her.
Yeah,
he would have asked her.
I get it.
Yeah, I'd be in a different basement.
My mom would have left my dad for Tommy Herr, so whatever. It's all good fun. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Hey.
I'll come back on for David Freese. Thanks, JJ.
Oh yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank
I didn't
you.
know.
Go ahead.
I didn't know. Am I out of time here?
Oh, no, no.
Oh, okay. I got a little bit of a delay. It might be my internet here. So
Oh, okay. Okay. So,
I was still trying to find a good cub, but hold on a second. He goes, he's up there in Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment laughing at me. It's kind of scary.
Jeffrey's over there. Hey, I got a question for you, Brad.
Go
If
ahead.
you were getting into the card hobby, who would you invest in? Give me two, maybe three guys. Who's the hot card right now? Or what? Is it a Chrome? Is it a
So yeah, I mean, I'm obviously Bobby. I'm a big Bobby Witt guy, a Jackson Holiday guy. But I mean, it just really depends what you're trying to do. So I see so many guys are just flipping cards, like they buy them and flip them. I mean, if you're doing that, it's almost like buying a lottery ticket. I feel like, yeah, you buy it, you make it $100 off of it. But if you really believe in a guy, I mean, like I buy Bobby Witt, I like Jackson Holiday. I don't want to sit there and say this right now, but I'm not really big on any Cardinals personally.
right?
I mean, that makes sense. Like I wasn't big on Mormal, which are the guy, the Cub guy that was doing a little fancy trot that Jim Evans didn't like. He was, I mean, it's like Nolan Gorman. He's batting 200. He's batted 200 for 2 seasons. What's special about him? Nothing. I mean,
with the Rays
it's
now.
all it's August. He's hitting 200. I mean, I'm just saying, is it exciting? No, it's not. I mean, Aaron
He,
Judge,
he had 246 last year.
who
Morale.
I know, but I was talking about Nolan Gorman.
Oh,
Right.
oh. Hey,
Nolan Gorman's hit Nolan Gorman's hitting 200 and over 1,000 at bats. My point is, when I look at these guys, like I was doing the math last night on Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. They're on base together is almost 900. I was figuring it takes three Cardinals to get on base at that clip. If you just do the mathematically, pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And you can talk about a lot of teams like that. They get on base at an astounding rate. I don't think you realize how crazy it is what they're doing right now. Those two guys together. I mean, I just
You
look
almost
at the
take it for
simple numbers.
granted. After a while, you kind of take it for granted. They're so good. You're like, that's just normal. But it's
But
not.
putting Soto in front of just think of Bobby Wood hit fourth behind those guys. I mean,
wow.
Oh,
and they could, but I mean, the Cardinals. I hate to say it, but also did this. If you back the Cardinals out the season where they won 91, 92 games in this decade, they're a 500 team, 100%, and the Cubs really are too. They both are. We haven't been very good, and I don't like it. I wish they would get serious, but I don't know if it's going to happen or not. We'll see. So it's frustrating.
it is.
I think with Judge and Soto, it's like when Pujols was here in St. Louis. You just got
Yep.
used to the greatness.
Scott
And
Rowland. I mean, Scott Rowland was an amazing hitter, the clutch hitter. So
yeah,
Jim Edmonds was too, and
you get spoiled with that kind of talent, and then when it's not here, it's like, well, why isn't the next guy hitting like that? Because
I agree.
Yeah.
the next
I
guy's
agree with
not a
that.
generational talent like Albert Pujols was.
But they wouldn't sign. They wouldn't sign Soto. I mean, there's the only difference. Judge was they drafted him to the organization. My thing is like I don't know if the Cardinals are serious about winning because I think they just do enough, just kind of bait you in, and I think everybody's kind of tired of it. I mean, that's why it shows in the crowds and stuff. I mean, in my personal opinion, I don't want to say this, but I don't know. I wish they would get serious about winning. So I've been a season ticket holder since like 2006. I've been running to the front of bleachers since like 1991 for $4, and I wish they would just get back to it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Amen.
I mean, Arenado's been hurt, all that kind of stuff. I get it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think everybody agrees with you.
Yeah. Well, I personally like Gorman. And I look at it this way, on the Phillies, he'd be batting leadoff.
Well, that's funny you say that because Kyle Schwarber might be the MVP of the National League. If you look at his numbers lately, it's pretty crazy. He's batting like 259 with over a 400 on base. Big difference.
Yeah.
And he's got like 33 home runs. He
I
would be the best Cub and best Cardinal, just so you know.
That one hurt. Just to
Well, I mean,
really
I'm just throwing it out there. You guys got rid of him. I'm just picking. But he really is. I mean, I've always thought Schwarber was like super overrated, but he is having a monster season. Crazy.
Yeah. I contend if he wanted to hit 275, 280, he could. That's just not what
I
he
think he
wants
could
to
hit.
do.
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem. I think he could hit 60 home runs if he wanted to, but he might hit 225. But he legitimately, he's having his best season ever. Kyle Schwarber's going to hit 500 home runs, and people don't realize that, but he's going to. And whatever happens with the votes and stuff like that. I mean, to me, if he's got a 380 or 390 on base, then he's got to be considered for the Hall of Fame, you know? So
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
big thing. People never realize like the on base percentage thing for me. Like, just get on base. I mean, I think it's kind of a lost art personally. Stolen base is the same way.
Yeah, you're
So
talking about earlier, Joe Morgan. Uh,
Joe Morgan was a
Joe
monster.
Morgan, when you look at his traditional statistics, he only had like a 6 year thing where he was offensively elite, but it's all those years before and all those years after where he had those huge high on base percentages and he contributed with stolen bases, with home runs, with great defense. I remember, St. Louis's own Kevin Slayton was very upset that Joe Morgan made the Hall of Fame, and he said he only had 5 good years. I don't know why he's in the Hall of Fame because Joe Morgan got on base all the time.
Well, and here's what I'd say to Kevin Slayton. He played for the Big Red Machine, and they won World Series in 1975, 1976. And Joe Morgan won the MVP on both those teams back to back seasons. So that's what you tell Kevin Slayton because Pete Rose is on that team, Tony Perez, Johnny Bench, George Foster hit 50 home runs in 1977. I'm just saying that it's not a good. Joe Morgan is legit 100% Hall of Famer, no question.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
And I wrote a couple stories about the Reds. So yeah, I'm personal. That's one of my first books I read was The Big Red Machine. So,
Oh, heck yeah.
Very
but
good.
yeah, I mean, Joe Morgan was a monster.
Well, we do
Anyways,
have to wrap this up
all
so
right.
we can do the rest of the show. Um, again, tell everybody the times for Tommy Herr this
Tommy
week.
Herr. Tommy Herr will be here Saturday from 11 to 1. David Freese will be here October 12th from 4 to 6. We're still working on that, like how much he'll sign outside of that window and before and after. So I know he's signing in West County that day for an hour and a half, but I think we get 2 hours, I think, with him, and we have a lot of pre-signings, obviously, so we have to figure all that out still. But he's going to be here from 4 to 6, So
Right. Cool.
that's the plan.
Great. Thanks, Brad, for doing that. That's great for us fans.
Tommy Herr will be here probably for 3 hours, but he'll do pre-signings for a while. So
All
I
right.
appreciate you guys. Sorry
Thank
for being
you.
so honest about Joe Morgan. I really like Joe Morgan. So
We're big fans too, and we'll have you on before if David Freeze everything works out. We'll have you on before then so we can promote that. Okay.
all right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Hey, and Joe Morgan was better than Ryan Sandberg. I just want to throw it out there. Thanks.
I will admit that. Yes. Okay. You've
All
got
right.
me there. All right.
All right.
Thanks a
Thanks,
lot.
guys. All right. Bye.
Brad was awesome.
Brad, man, he was all wound up today. He's ready for the Tommy Herr thing. If you get a chance, get down there. It's going to be a good time.
I hope he gets Jose Canseco. Hey, that'd be cool. That'd be so cool.
Ooh, I do too. Did you hear Canseco has challenged Aaron Judge to a home run hitting softball, like softball style, who can hit the furthest softball? And he put his own money up against them. Aaron Judge shouldn't even bother, but
Oh yeah. Well, JJ, I've got 1990 Fleer wax
Ooh.
package.
yes, very good.
What do you got?
I have 2024 Series 1 tops with Acuna Jr. on the front. Right there.
I will go first
Yes, sir.
because I'm going to say 2 Hall of Famers.
Woo, you're going high. I'll go 1. I'll go 1.
All right. First card, Fleer Action Series, Chicago Cubs. Quick quiz. What was the original name of Wrigley Field?
Oh, I heard this. I can't remember.
Wigman Park. I remember this question came out 34 years ago. What was the last year the Cubs won the World Series?
Well, that would have been like 1908 before
Very
the
good.
2016. Yeah.
Very good. Uh, which two U.S. presidents have attended Cubs home games?
Well, one was Obama,
Well,
and
that so Obama's three, so
oh, okay. I'd say, boy, William Taft was a big baseball fan. William Taft?
very good.
Oh, okay. And JFK?
No,
Okay.
this guy was a huge baseball fan and actually a Cub fan.
Oh, Ronald Reagan?
Ronald Reagan, very good. Actually,
Okay.
he called radio games for the Cubs for a while.
I didn't know it was the Cubs he did. Okay.
Yep, yep. In what year was the first night game played in Wrigley Field?
Oh, that's a great question. It's later than I thought. Isn't it like 1988? Something like that?
1988. Man, you did awesome.
Hey, how about that?
You're an honorary Cub fan.
I do love watching the Cubs. I love their tradition. I love if we can't do it, I'm open for anybody. But there's so many great players and announcers, and the Cubs and Cardinals have so many overlapping players that played for both organizations. I don't have any hate in my heart for the Cub fans. I do for the Met fans, not the Cub fans.
Sorry, Mark. Um,
Yeah, sorry, Mark. We love
okay. My first card, well, not counting that one, is a Hall of Famer, but I don't consider him a Hall of Famer, but technically he is. Harold
Harold
Baines.
Harold Baines, one of Tony La Russa's good friends.
Yep. Uh, Mike Stanton, pitcher for the Braves.
Oh
Good
yeah, I
pitcher.
remember Mike. Yeah, very good player.
Oh, this guy came on like gangbusters for the Reds and then kind of tailed off, but did have a solid career. Gary Redus.
Oh yeah, nice player.
Oh, and this guy was a character. You probably saw him play when you went to games in Seattle.
Ooh.
Bone Buhner. Jay
Oh
Buhner.
yeah, he was ball headed when I was out there in Seattle. Yeah, him and Griffey out there in the outfield.
Yeah. Oh, former Cardinal closer, Todd Worrell.
Todd Worrell, mid 80s, fantastic. Later went to the Dodgers. Very good player.
What I
Rookie of the
liked about
year.
what I liked about Todd Worrell, I think it was 92, somewhere around there, when Pedro Guerrero was with the Cardinals and he brought Sammy Sosa into the Cardinal locker room and Worrell got into it with Pedro. You don't break out of here. Worrell was old school.
Yes.
This guy could have been a Hall of Famer, but he liked
Oh,
the needle. Roger Clemens.
oh, the Rocket. Yes.
Uh, former shortstop for the Sox, also played for the Cubs, Scott Fletcher.
I remember him. There was a famous video of him at first base dropping his pants to get the dirt out of there. He slid. Do you remember that? And he
Wasn't
forgot it
that
wasn't it
wasn't that
him?
that was
Lions. That was
Lyons?
Lions. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I thought it was Fletcher.
Steve Lyons. Yeah, that's
He was kind
great.
of nutty, wasn't he?
It was great.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
who it was.
uh, the father of a Hall of Famer. I got Ken Griffey here.
Oh, great. Hey, the Big Red Machine right there.
Oh, great pitcher from a great baseball family in Cuba, Pascual Perez.
Yes. In 82, he was a big pitcher for the Braves as Negro. He got lost. He couldn't find his way to the stadium one time. I remember
Yep,
that.
yep. And his brother Melito pitched for the Yankees and the White Sox.
They
And
were
he's
brothers.
got other brothers who pitched in Cuba. I mean, they were like
Legends.
legends in
The
Cuba.
Guerreros in wrestling in Mexico.
Second Hall of Famer, the
Oh,
big unit, Randy Johnson.
bird. He's a bird killer.
Uh, former Cub, giant pitcher, Craig Lefferts.
Oh, yes. I remember him. Solid.
Yeah, Padres too.
Okay.
Pitcher for the Tigers, Brian Dubois. Barely remember him. Don't see
No,
too many French names.
yeah.
Pitcher for the Dodgers, Jay Howell.
I remember Jay Howe, very big part of that bullpen's success.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was the 89 playoffs when they checked his glove. Uh, Davey Johnson had to check his glove and he got thrown out of the game. And
Some one-upsmanship there.
a lot of people think that this guy sucked, Kevin Hickey. Oh, see what I did there.
That's
Oh, and here's a guy who liked to doctor the ball, Mike Scott.
Yeah, Cy Young Award winner, split finger fastball. I remember
Yep.
him.
Oh man, I got two Hall of Famers. Good package. I've had some bad
Very,
packages lately. I
very
think
good. I
this.
haven't looked through here yet. Okay, so these are the 2024 tops. The first one, Oakland A, which I love their uniforms. Zach Geloff. He is a second baseman. There he is rounding the bases right there. Okay, so Zach Geloff, these 2024s, real good photography. A player you have talked about on here, and he's a free agent at the end of the year. We mentioned him tonight, Ryan O'Hearn,
Yes,
right
like
there.
him.
Big part of the Orioles' success.
He
Uh,
he will fit with any contending team who needs someone who can play a little bit in the field, DH a little bit, maybe play 5 times a week. Uh, and he would be a great addition to any team. I think if Baltimore lets him go, he's going to be missed because he is that player. They can plug him in different
oh,
places in the lineup and he produces.
oh yeah, and they can't keep everybody. They're all young and they're all coming up at the same time. Atlanta Brave pitcher, and they've got so many good ones, but AJ Smith Solver right there, another one of their young, fantastic pitchers. I wish we had half of their pitchers. The Cleveland Guardians, this guy and his brother have been fantastic. First baseman Josh Naylor, and that's an excellent picture of him in action right there.
Josh Naylor is who beat us last night. They had a runner on third. He did 8-8. He did not try to kill the ball. He basically doinked one off the plate over the third baseman's head. I love a player who understands what situation you are in the game. All I need to do is make contact. The contact's play on. We can probably get the runner home from third. And he did it. Just made contact, got a hit out of it. They win the game.
Big part of their success, and I
That's
think
baseball IQ, man.
you can't, yes, that's you can't put statistical stuff on that, but he always seems to be in the highlights, getting the big hit and a big part of the team, and they're a big rally point for them. Ramirez, him, they anyway, we're going to know this guy from years to come. Here's a guy we know, and you said maybe the best player in the game, Fernando Tatis Jr., outstanding
Yeah.
player, goes wherever they ask him to play, and he's in that City Connect outfit right there for the Padres. Let's see here. I have oh, you know what? I play video games with Brody baseball, and this guy always is in the middle of everything. Connor Joe for the right there for the Pirates.
I like him.
Outstanding. I
Yeah.
do too. He could play on the Cardinals any day in my book. This guy we got to see play Sunday, Ella De La Cruz. It's just exciting when he comes up to the plate. I just think he's going to get better and better. He's very young and probably the premier stolen base guy right now in baseball at
Oh,
this
yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Another Oakland A, Sturry Rose, one of their outfielders, one of the top base stealers in the game too. I love that action shot of him right there. Tops have done a very good job. And then the Twins, they have a highlight where our Carlos Correa is getting one of those post game getting showered with the water jug right there. So anyway, that's it. Every team with tops this year, there's a team card, and then a highlight card of something they did last year. And the Cardinals, we didn't do much last year. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. That's my tops.
Do you remember about 10 years ago when they were doing the ice bucket challenge for ALS awareness? Did you
Yes,
try that?
no, I didn't.
Oh my gosh.
It take your breath away.
Yes, I did it. Um, and I thought, how bad can it be? I've had cold water before. No, I mean, your whole body freezes up. Yeah, I get ALS, even though I only had it for like 2 seconds. I get that's how it is. So,
Woo!
wow. Man, we've had a great show. I want to thank Brad Juliette for coming. And those of you who are Tommy Herr fans, make sure you make it to Caledonia Saturday between 11 and 1 and meet Tommy, get some things signed. That'd be awesome. And remember, he's negotiating with David Freese for October and Jose Canseco. Hopefully, you can get him in December. A lot of exciting things happening there. JJ's in Milwaukee. He sent me some videos, and I will put those together, and they will be on next week's show. And the ones with the drug usage and strippers and stuff like that,
I don't know how they got
I'm
out.
just going to edit all that out.
Uh-huh.
You hear that, Brody?
I heard that.
All right. Well, hey, you guys have a wonderful time the rest of the week there,
We will,
and
sir.
enjoy. And I will see you next week. Okay.
See you next week, sir.
Bye bye.